Terminology relating to narcissism and narcissistic personality disorder has been developed by psychologists and therapists over decades of research as well as by survivors of narcissistic abuse, seeking a vocabulary to understand and talk about their experience. This list is not meant to be exhaustive but rather an overview of some of the most useful terms for understanding the pathology of narcissism and its impact on relationships and family. Hey there, আমি একজন ভারতীয় বাঙালি লার্নার রিসেন্টলি নার্সিসিজম অ্যান্ড ইটস ইম্প্যাক্ট নিয়ে একটু চর্চা করছি। আজকের টপিক পার্ট 2, এ গ্লসারি অফ টার্মস ফর আন্ডারস্ট্যান্ডিং দ্য ম্যাডনেস। 1. Idealization, devalue and discard. The three stages in a narcissistic relationship. Idealization is the first phase, the pedestal phase as many refer to it, the action of making something seemingly perfect or better than the actual reality. This is when the narcissist is totally and utterly pulling out all the stops to get you hooked. They will move mountains for your happiness. They love everything about you and let you know it. They are in constant contact with you, making plans, waiting to see you. Once the narcissist knows that their supply is on the hook, they slowly reel you in. Devalue is the second phase. Now that you are hooked from all that attention and love being thrown at your way, get ready to finally meet the person you are truly dealing with. This is when the narcissist's mask starts to fall off. Throughout the devaluing phase, the victim has tirelessly tried to figure out what they did to make the narcissist turn on them. The narcissist has made it very clear throughout the devaluing phase, and everything was the victim's fault. The victim is tired and repressed. By this point, they probably have become so withdrawn they have little to no social life left. The narcissist has succeeded in isolating and degrading the victim's self-esteem. Narcissists believe they are superior to all others, devaluing friends, family, and partners. Because of their emotional level of awareness not developing past toddlerhood, their insecurities of unattainable perfection, they do not hesitate in putting others down through expressing their disappointment in the target of abandonment of the target. Discard is the third and final phase. Once they have sucked every bit of your energy and life out of you, they will throw you away in cold blood. Since the victim can no longer provide any source of supply, the narcissist will then leave them without a second glance for new supply. And the cycle repeats itself, often including the old supply or victim through a method known as hoovering. 2. Hoovering. The term hoovering is derived from the Hoover vacuum cleaner, which describes how a narcissist attempts to suck their victims back into a relationship. Since narcissists are by nature pathologically self-centered and often stunningly cruel, they ultimately make those around them unhappy and miserable, and eventually drive many people away. If people pull away or try to go no contact, narcissists may attempt to hoover them back within their realm of control. They try to hoover through a variety of means, from promising to reform their behavior to acting unusually solicitous to dangling carrots such as gifts or money. However, if they find replacement sources of supply, they may simply walk away from old ones. 3. Trauma bonding. This term originates from the concept of Stockholm Syndrome, where hostages become emotionally attached to their captors. It is a negative form of bonding as it keeps you loyal to a destructive situation. Narcissists will create a trauma bond by feeding you pity stories, forcing you to be dependent on them, and creating an abuse cycle, and then some form of reward to keep you trapped pathologically and emotionally. Some signs of trauma bonding are you feel stuck and powerless in the relationship but try to make the best of it. Deep down, there are moments you don't even know if you like or trust the other person, but you can't leave. You have tried to live, but you feel physically ill if you do, or like you will die, or your life will be destroyed. The other person constantly lets you down, but you still believe their promises. It's not love, it's a drug addiction that the body needs to be weaned off. 4. Narcissistic word salad. Narcissistic word salad refers to a speech pattern that is purposefully confusing, a mixture of words and phrases that lack any meaning of the original topic. It is the very epitome of verbal chaos. You will find a bunch of unrelated words and concepts all smooshed together, including contradictions and disjoint phrases of random, irrelevant, and impromptu comments thrown at you. The effect and very deliberate purpose of this is to leave you entirely unable to follow the narcissist, to stop trusting your own logic, and become unable to hold them accountable for their behavior. They use this word salad so that the other person will give up arguing and eventually give in to what they are saying. 5. Narcissistic injury occurs when narcissists react negatively to perceived or real criticism or judgment, boundaries placed on them, or attempts to hold them accountable for harmful behavior. The bubbling up or surfacing of injury to the narcissist's ego manifests itself as feelings of rage and vindictive hatred for the instigator or the narcissistic injury. Narcissistic injuries are disassociated feelings of self-hatred and self-loathing that are projected onto the offending person by either an angry tirade, cruel and vindictive verbal abuse, physical violence, or silent treatment. 6. Hypervigilance. When in a state of fight or flight, sensory awareness is heightened with mind and body on high alert to the present danger. To cope with a chaotic and often psychologically and physically abusive environment, people close to narcissism adapt by becoming hypervigilant to threat or attack. They are always on guard, seeking to anticipate and potentially and psychologically debilitating because it drains the body's natural defense system by constantly overburdening it. Hypervigilance often leads to complex post-traumatic disorder and illness. Narcissists themselves are hypervigilant to anything that might trigger their narcissistic injury. 7. Narcissistic rage. Narcissistic personalities often react with rage when their underlying feelings of vulnerabilities and shame are triggered, then tend to take even small slights which most people would easily brush off as intensely humiliating. When this happens, their fabricated perfect self and overblown feeling of entitlement are threatened, setting off a wild range response. Narcissistic rage is terrifying, sometimes physically violent, and far beyond normal anger. It is emotionally and physically traumatizing for those on the receiving end, particularly children who naturally blame themselves for adults' reaction. 8. Scapegoat. This is a child singled out unfairly for disfavored treatment in the narcissistic family. Scapegoats are typically blamed for family problems, disciplined or punished disproportionately, burdened with excessive chores and responsibilities, and subjected to unmerited negative treatment. The child, who usually is strong willed, with a mind of its own, the narcissist struggles to control, to so blame the scapegoat for everything.